little kids, propping them. That's a shameful spirit, man. And all this information about him is actually coming out in the spirit, man, because his kingdom is getting ready to go down, man. That's why all this information is coming out on Esau, man.
You uncover it.
He's getting hit up.
Hard, bro.
Yeah?
Hey, in that movie Fahrenheit 451, it's a good film with Michael B. Jordan, man. Brothers was showing us the movie. They burning the history books, so then everyone in the future doesn't know nothing about civil rights. They don't know nothing about slavery. They don't know nothing. You know, that's the future, and that's what's going on now. And the Lord, but they didn't. Even in Babylon, you know, they wanted to make everything one and all that, and the Lord confounded the nations, man. You know, so that's what's happening now. That Esau's got this new amalgamated new world order stuff, and the Lord's going to confound it, man.
Back then it was a wicked act. That's why the Lord did what he did. Okay, Esau trying to do the same again. He knows the story. Esau knows the story, so why is he trying to do that? Why is he trying to bring around a one world order?
Have a precept? Yeah. And the Lord's going to confound it, man.
This is first Maccabees 1:56, and when it says, no, actually in 55, and burn incense at the doors of the houses and in the streets, and when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire.
That's that film, that Fahrenheit 451, man. They were burning the history records. And you know, Esau's a real demon, because what did they do with the Bible, man? They took out the Apocrypha, which we got it now. We got it back through the Spirit of the Lord.
They took out a lot of stuff when it came to when I was reading it, man. The slave Bible had hardly anything in it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They hardly anything in it. Apocrypha, you know, that's something that's extra. Just take that shit out.
Hey, they took out the Apocrypha, man, and then in the Apocrypha, they burnt the books going into the history. They were burning the books. They took out the Apocrypha, and in there it tells you some scriptures on Hey, in the Apocrypha, man, it's so heavy because it links everything with the New and Old Testament. Esau's mentioned in it, his destiny, his future. We're mentioned in it. You know, everything's mentioned in it.
The Northern Kingdom.
The Northern Kingdom. It's all linked up, man. But Esau's a demon because it says they burn the books, gone up.
And it says, and when they had rent the pieces.
Yeah, 2 13. Khan.
And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. And whosoever was found with any of the book of the Testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. That's what happened in slavery, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Same shit.
Slavery, man. And that's the
same devil.
But that's what's going on now too, because Esau wants to persecute us because we're bringing out the truth on his ass, man.
So it's still happening.
So we're still in captivity.
We're still in slavery now.
Still.
Hey, get that scripture on the Northern Kingdoms, man. Hey, like the brothers from the South Central Americas, they're Israelites too, man. Right? The brothers from South America who are so-called Indian descent, so-called. Right? They're Israelites. They're all Israelites. They're not Mongolians. They're not Hamites.
Hey, you can tell in their spirit, man. You know, you can tell in the spirit they're us, man. They act the same way as Jake do.
What they
have the same problem as Jake do.
Yeah. You know, Jake eats the same food, beans, rice. That's what Jake eats, man. Call it different things. Jake just eats beans and rice, man.
Yeah, but a lot of Latin culture is a mixture of Judah and our brothers, and it blends so beautifully, man. Yeah. Everybody loved that Latin culture, right? So-called Latin culture. And I ain't talking about Spanish culture, because this Spanish is
dead, yeah.
Dead out, man. They're done out here, and they can't dance either. I don't know if you thought that, but they can't. Yeah, I'm talking about our brothers, man. When you go to the West Indies, you know, say everybody wanna go to the Spanish Quarter, right? Am I lying? Because Spanish Quarter got the mamacitas and the music going and everything's blessed there. Am I lying? Brothers that know, you know about Spanish. Every island got a Spanish Quarter, man. You know what I'm talking about. And it's Jake, all kind of Jake there, blending up together in the spirit, man. But give me this precept right here, because that Esau tried to destroy that history too.
Yep. 2nd Ezra 13 and 40. It says, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Shalmaneser the king of Assyria led away captive.
Yeah, that's talking about the Northern Kingdom, because Israel was split into 2 kingdoms, man. All right, you had the Southern Kingdom, which was Judah, Benjamin, and mainly Levi, because well, not mainly, but and Levi, because Levi stayed with the temple. Obviously, you had a certain Levites that would have stayed with the other tribes as well. That's why really Levi, you're gonna have Levites among all the tribes too.
And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
And the scriptures tell you how the Lord was like, yo, Judah didn't mourn over that. Judah never mourned when the 10 tribes were taken down, man. And there's still kind of a, even though we fight like brothers, like we could be close as hell, man. Like you can see that, man. How the so-called Puerto Rican, the so-called Mexican, and the so-called Negro will be close as hell. Like we like each other's shit. We like each other's women. We like each other's styles. We be stealing shit from each other. But at the same time, there's a little bit of kickback there too, a little bit of schism. But that's how it was in the ancient world. All right? Come on, you tell me you didn't like Big Pun? Everybody was listening to Big Pun and Big Papa.
Yeah.
Fat Joe. Now you telling me those are Mongolians? Or you telling me those are Hamites?
Lean back, man. Lean back, you know?
Like Jules Santana, I believe it was he Simeon? Yeah. Cuban, Simeon or one of them guys, man. Christina Milian. All right, I believe Snoop Dogg as well, Snoop Doggy Dogg. He ain't a Judite. All right.
Yeah, it says, and so they came into another land.
That another land that they came into was Assyria. Go on.
But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen.
Now, where was the multitude of the peoples living? At that time in history, they were living in the land of Ham, so-called Africa, different regions of Africa. They were living in Europe, and they were living in Asia. So what was the one major landmass that people weren't living in? The Americas, because the Americas was disconnected from the rest of the land. Everywhere else pretty much you could walk to, except a couple islands that you might get in the sea or the ocean. If you could walk, if you go to France, if you cross over to France, right, you could walk to China. Now you might lose some pounds on the way there, but you could walk there. You could walk to South Africa. Yeah? You might have to go through Syria. Right? But you could walk, right? You could walk to South Africa. You could walk to Russia if you wanted to, once you hit the mainland Europe, because Europe is connected to Asia, connected to Africa. But you can't walk to that big ass landmass known as the Americas. You can't walk there, man. That's separated by ocean. And that's that. The Lord never gave no nation inheritance when he originally divided. Get that, Revelation 32:8.
And when Columbus went over to the so-called New World, man, who did he find there? He found the so-called natives, right? Who did he take with him? Hebrew interpreters.
Yeah.
He didn't know. He knew.
Yep.
Right? And there's history of, there's artifacts and that kind of stuff showing you that they had Hebrew cultures, man.
Yeah, they didn't have Mongolian culture.
Yeah.
Because if they were, well, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Go on.
This is Deuteronomy 32:8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the Lord of his inheritance.
That's right, that's right. So the Lord divided to all the different nations their inheritances, man. So different Hamitic nations, they receive land in the land of Ham, which is so-called Africa. Then you had Japhet, they originally had Europe, even though Japhet don't have Europe today, right? Then you had the different Shemitic nations, took different pieces of the Middle East and eastward. That's where you get Elam and all them dons there. So that part of the earth was given over to what? The peoples. There weren't no one that was living over near in the Americas. That's why when you go into these biblical scholars that Vocab Malone and these guys learn from, you know, these guys at Trinity Bible College, and they go into the table of nations and the nations, they say, according to their doctrine, not mine, according to their doctrine, Moses didn't know nothing about the people in the Americas. So he never wrote about them. That's according to their, which is madness, because you got Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And the whole genealogy is outlined in the scriptures. So how he just didn't know nothing about the people in the Americas? But that's because Esau can't explain it. So the biblical scholars are like, well, they were just people that was over there, but Moses didn't know nothing about them. That's foolishness. There weren't no people over there yet. Okay? the 10 tribes migrated over to them lands, man, because they wanted to go somewhere that was far away from the heathen. Because if they went into the land of Ham, who was there? In close proximity? The Hamites. If they went over to the east, who was there? It's still connected. If you went to Europe, it's still connected. You're still gonna have people over there, so you know what I mean? Because it's within the same landmass. But if you go all the way over to the Americas, ain't nobody trying to go on no perilous journey over the oceans to go to the Americas, man. So you're more likely to be by yourself, which they were for a very long time. You know, only a couple people might come over, the Vikings and that, but for the most part they were on their own until Esau, Edom came. Yeah, the crackers. Until the cracker came over there. Yeah.
I got something on Wikipedia real quick. Could you mention about the Hebrew interpreter?
And you still got second Esdras?
Yeah, I've still got
Okay,
that.
we're gonna finish that.
And one of their names was Louis de Torres. It says, and this is on Wikipedia, by the way. It says de Torres's life has been the subject of various legends. The most widespread one, which can be found in the Encyclopedia Judaica and similar reference books, that de Torres was a Jewish converso, or a convert escaping the banishment of the Jews from Spain, that he became in his latter days a wealthy and honored landowner in the West Indies. When you read on, it says the story of de Torres addressing a native tribe in Hebrew. So that's on Wikipedia for you to read.
Right, so if these natives were Mongoloids and that kind of stuff, why would they take someone that spoke Hebrew?
Yeah, they would have a derivative of Mongoloid language, because that's how it works. If one people break off and go somewhere, they're not going to completely reinvent themselves. There's going to be some kind of anthropological lineage going on there. You understand? You're gonna if a bunch of people from Mongolia, a bunch of Moabites, crossed over the Bering Strait and walked into the Americas, they're gonna walk over there with their culture. Now the culture might change over a certain amount of time, but you're gonna be able to look at that and say, hold on, them motherfuckers, because look how unique the Mongolian and the Chinese writing is that they developed over there. So if they went over there, you should be able to look at the Aztecs and the Incas and be like, yeah, that's some Chinese-ish type shit. Or you should be looking at their language, it should be similar. Or the way they dress, it should be similar. There should be some kind of cultural, what's the word, influence, because they've come from that people. But you don't find that. They're not Mongolian.
That's why you get the Hebrewisms in West Africa.
Exactly
Because the cultures might be different, it might have moved on, but they got the same root.
That's right.
Trace it all
That
back to the same
they
root.
was wearing the fringes, and it was more than that, because the last lunar stone, right, and different writings in Hebrew, different words that are similar. Okay, what you got? You had something else, brother?
I'll go back into it.
Okay, read that for me.
Yep, back in 2nd Esdras 13 and 41. But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country.
A further country,
where never mankind dwelt.
Where never mankind dwelt. That had to be the Americas, man. That had to have been the Americas, because there weren't nobody over there. So they were like, yo, we gonna go, because we know that there's a land over there, because Solomon had that great navy, and he had them Hamite, he had his boy Hiram that was working for him. All right, that was doing his thing, going all up and down the Mediterranean, across the Atlantic over there, and coming back. But they never colonized that area, so they knew about that. They was like, okay, we gonna go where them guys were going, because we know that they know people over there, and hopefully when we go there, we ain't gonna be seduced by the ways of the heathens.
Precept for that?
Yeah, bring it out.
1 Kings 9:26, and King Solomon made a navy of ships in Eziongaber, which is beside Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon, and they came to Ophir and fetched from hence gold 400.
And I believe the scholars really don't know where Ophir is, man. The scholars say they're not sure where Solomon's. That's why you get that movie Congo, you know. You ever see that movie Congo, man? That's some crazy shit with them monkeys and shit.
Apostle Roman says America.
Yeah, it's America.
It's America, yeah.
There you go.
But whenever you research it, they always say it's unsure and it's question mark.
Hey, that's funny because you hear about El Dorado and all these. I don't know if it's true. Hey, that might be just the movies, man. I might be ignorant. But I was watching that Dora the Explorer shit. They were talking all that, and they were talking about you got these. I don't know if it's, but you got these ancient cities and that they spoke of that was made of gold and all this kind of business. Now I could be ignorant to that, but it sounds like it's a that's a legend. That's
What Esau believed, he was searching for it.
El Dorado.
He was searching for that shit.
Because even when the apostle spoke about it, he was speaking it in terms of the apes and the
Peacocks,
flamingos and peacocks and stuff, and he tied it to America.
That's right.
Oh yeah, he did say it was America.
That's right.
Yeah,
He said it was
America. Yeah.
And they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold, 420 talents, and brought it to King Solomon.
That's right, man. So that Solomon could be dripping, man.
It says back in 2nd Ezra 13 and 42, it says that they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Right, so they went over there to keep. So essentially, when they first went over to them lands, they were keeping the laws. Now we know Jake, man. Jake, we know the flesh. The flesh is against the spirit. So because they're in the flesh, they ended up going off over there. But they were still doing certain things like keeping certain feast days, not eating pork. The tribes had certain things about them that they were still doing. Even when Columbus and them guys went over there. All right, still wearing the fringes. All right.
And just to bear in mind, that's a long span of time still. A lot of things happen in that space of time. So there's few things left over, but like I said, most of it might have been God.
Which that proves that just Jake being man herself ain't the answer, man. Yahweh Shai is the answer. Yahweh Shai is the one that's gonna make us perfect. Because even if you put Jake on an island by himself, Jake will always find some foolishness to do. You know what I mean?
Sin dwelleth in the flesh, isn't it?
That's right, it's the flesh, corruption.
That's why we need them new bodies, man.
Yeah. That's right, that's why we need Yahweh Shai deliverance to the new bodies, man. Because even if we went on a planet by ourselves and Esau went around, you still get some crazy looking ass Juice WRLD nigga turn up somewhere on some lean, doing some madness, Jake will always find something stupid. All you gotta do is look at these celebrity Jakes. They always doing something stupid, man. They could get in trouble for something just stupid. Beating up a manager in the broad daylight or some stupid shit. You're like, yo, what are you doing, man? Ending up in jail.
Look at Tiger Woods. He's doing all kind of wickedness, but he didn't have to do all of that. He had all the resources.
Jake be doing too much, man. Jake will always find some foolishness to do.
Yeah, it says that they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
The last lunar stone is evidence of that. The last lunar stone found in Mexico, that's got the 10 Commandments written in the Lashawan Kodash, in the Hebrew. And they found all kinds of artifacts with the Hebrew, but I'm gonna speak on that in a second. Go on, keep reading, is that it?
It says, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half.
So we know that it was a long and perilous journey for them to get to the land that they got to. Now, what was you holding?
Ezekiel 7.
Ezekiel 7. Now Esau came over to our brothers in the Americas. They came in the name of the Portuguese, the name of the Spanish, and the name of the British. And what they did was they went over there and they conquered our peoples and they destroyed, man. See, Esau wants to be known as like this herald of knowledge and wisdom, but he's a destroyer of worlds, man. He went over there and he destroyed many cities. He destroyed artifacts. He destroyed writings and scrolls, and then turn around now and say, well, these people never used to do no writing. These people never used to do this. Nah, they did. But Esau came and burned it, destroyed cities, right? So a lot of the artifacts that our brothers Gad had, like they said Gad never had no cities. That's a damn fucking lie. Gad had towns and cities, man. They weren't all living nomadic, but Esau came and destroyed them, right? Gad had writings. He had written writings and scrolls. Esau came and destroyed them because he didn't want it to be known that these people have culture. These people are about something. They want it to be known that they're just savages, man.
Yeah. Ezekiel, brutality.
This is Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 23. Make a chain, for the land is full of bloody crimes, and the city is full of violence.
Now that goes into our people. Every time our people have been given unto wickedness, the Lord send plagues onto us. Now we don't try and romanticize our people, man. Our people are always descending into some madness. All you gotta do is look at the history. Look at the history of West Africa. Look at the history of Europe. When we were in rulership over Europe, you had like a 100-year war between Jake in Europe and Jake in Britain and Jake in France. 100 years. So when you see the Bloods and the Crips, you shouldn't be surprised. Jake have been killing each other. Going back into the scriptures, Jake have been killing each other, murdering each other, killing another Jake because where you come from? Oh, you ain't from around here. That's where you get the word stranger from. All right? And the Lord was like, look, man, you're supposed to treat the stranger good. Jake like, fuck that. He ain't from around here. I don't know that nigga. That's how Jacob always had that wicked ass spirit on them. So our people over there in the Americas, they weren't no flipping, perfect angels, sitting there doing no evil, and then Esau just came and destroyed them. They were doing wickedness to each other over there before Esau got there.
That's what Esau was sent.
Warring each other.
That's what Esau was sent.
That's why Esau was sent, and we're reading it. Esau was sent over there because our people descended into all kind of wickedness. Every form of wickedness that can be written of, our people were into it over there in them lands, man. They were corrupted. All right? So the Lord sent the devil over there to deal with them. All right?
If I can say this, boy, even in the film Apocalypto, one of the end scenes, you see the ships.
Yeah.
Descending upon the
Jake were conquering each other and killing each other and enslaving each other.
The pyramids and sacrificing.
Like enslavement ain't, that's why they talk about, look man, Jake putting each other in slavery ain't nothing new too. Jake killing each other ain't nothing new. A lot of the Gadite tribes, they used to war against each other too. That's why when Esau come, he was like, yo, okay, so this tribe don't like this tribe, okay, so we're gonna hook up with this tribe, get them to help us take this tribe, but then when we're done dealing with them, we're gonna deal with them, divide and conquer.
It's spiritual because that's the same thing which happened with the patriarchs. Joseph got thrown into Egypt, man.
That happened back then.
That happened back then.
Hey, Jake be doing that now.
Jake be doing that now,
Jake
man.
be putting our people. You might get a Issachar, run up on some Zebulon or whoever it is coming up out of South America and put them in slavery, man. Catch them on the Mexican border, put them in a trap house somewhere in slavery or in a brothel somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's Jake doing that to Jake.
Yeah.
Leaving fucking pits of heads. They keep finding pits of heads out there in the damn desert, man.
Oh, the Devil's Punch Bowl.
Yeah. Nah, that's down south. I'm talking about Jake. I'm talking about Jake. Actually, the Devil's Punch Bowl is talking about down there in I believe it's Atlanta or something, where Esau did all them genocides against Judah. But I'm talking about over there by the Mexican border and that. Hey, a lot of times them cartels and that, we just slaughtering innocent people, man, and leaving there in pits, man. And they find a pit of heads, maybe 100 heads.
Yeah. If Jake can shoot each other in the street, then Jake can put each other in slavery.
Yeah, of course.
So
that don't mean nothing. A lot of guys, you got Hispanic gangs that fight black gangs. Okay, so then does that mean that the Bloods and the Crips, they're different nations? You know what I mean? Nah, like you're gonna get that because Jake have always had that dissimulation.
The land is full of bloody crimes.
The land is full of bloody crime. That happened back there in Jerusalem, in the land of Israel. And when they went over to the Americas, it didn't take them long to start doing the same thing there. Go on.
And the city is full of violence. Wherefore, I will bring the worst of the heathen.
Now, who's the worst of the heathen? The wicked, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. He's the worst of the worst. Scripture says, lest there be any fornicator, right? Which means what? Idolater. What's the root of pride and sin? It all begins with idolatry. So Esau, the scriptures, lest there be any fornicator, meaning he's the number one. When it comes to fornication, Esau is the guy that you got to go to. Right? Fornicator or profane. What does the word profane mean? Ungodly. So there ain't nobody that can touch Esau in the award ceremony when it comes to being ungodly. All right, so he's the worst of the heathen.
And they shall possess their houses.
So they went over to the Americas and then they took over that land. They conquered that land. Now there you got people talking about, oh, the northern tribe, you guys are saying they're Israelites, but they have their own countries. That shows you ignorant as hell. That shows you don't know, you don't understand nothing. Like, I don't know what you've been doing, but you need to get your laptop and hit Google up the right way. Because if you go to Brazil, you'll find out that when you research, you go do it, man. Before you start running your mouth, they have their own countries. They got Brazil. Oh, really? They live in the favela, Holmes. Okay? They live in the favela. When you go type in the top 10 richest families in Brazil, go read where they come from. They're all from Portugal or Spain or Germany. Yeah? The people that actually own and control all the corporations and the land and all these things are either foreigners, foreign heathens, foreign Edomites, or Edomites that were born in the land. What would they call I've got to find the caste system. There's a name for them. There's a name for Spaniards that were born in the Americas.
Gringo.
I'm sorry?
Gringo.
Gringo, no, that's just what they call crackers, man. Foreigner. I'll find it because it's in the caste system. It's the same thing when you go to Mexico. When you go to Mexico, the elite of Mexican society, they're not the indigenous peoples of Mexico. They're the children of the Spaniards, man. So the actual indigenous people of Mexico don't own and control Mexico. When Mexico got its independence, a lot of people don't know. What the Mexican Independence Day was the children of the Spaniards fighting for independence from Spain. That's what it was all about. It wasn't the indigenous peoples fighting against the rule of Spain, because they became a rift basically between the Spaniards born in the Americas and the Spaniards born in Spain. Because it's like the Spaniards born in Spain are like, yo, them men ain't really Spanish though. They speak a little different, they might act a little different. And the guys born over in the Americas like, you're talking about Spain like it's the home country, but I ain't never been to Spain. I don't know nothing about Spain, I know about Mexico. Why we gotta pay these guys? Why are we sending these guys tribute for? Fuck them. We're gonna do our own thing here. That's what it was all about. You could do the research.
This one.
Yeah, the caste system. I'll get you the actual, there's a name for it. Just give me 1 second, man. We're going into a lot of history. But that's why when you see these guys running their mouth, they can't back it up, man. Our people are suffering over there in the Americas, man. A lot of our people are living on less than $1 a day. They're suffering in Venezuela, suffering in Colombia, suffering in all them places, man. All them cities in poverty. Yeah, bring it out. Let me get this thing.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
Yep. Break it down, yo.
Yeah, you know, so like the brother was, or the elder was saying, like the elder was saying.
I'm just a brother, you know.
Yeah, yes. You know, basically in like our people, they're in the favelas, man. You know, so they ain't like owning, you know, up in the, you know, high price buildings and the, you know, nice circles.
Because our people are under the curses, man. Yeah. You know, we ain't running shit out here, man. We're in a low place. You know, every time Esau comes around, man, guess where we get put? At the bottom. You know, he got all the, like, instead of the corporation stuff, it costs them making a killing out of them coffee beans, man. Who's picking them? Jake. Yeah. You know, they ain't earning shit. That's why I got to put in fair trade and this and that, man. But Jake is suffering, man.
I was just going to quickly make a quick point, because with housing as well, you have a concept known as redlining, which is pretty much where they color code maps. So right after slavery happened, basically where high concentrations of Jakes were, there was low investment into those areas. They weren't allowing Jakes to make investments into houses and land, etc. And even that practice is still carried on today. That's why there's certain areas of London which are clearly fucked up. Like you go into the east end of London or certain areas of south, and you compare it to like your Kensingtons and Chelseas, you can see there's a clear difference between zones and London, because it all goes back to pretty much keeping Jake in fucked up communities where there's little to no opportunity.
Read a bit more. Just if I can read this. It's verse 44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. he shall be the head and thou shalt be the tail.
Because realistically, it should be the other way around. Because if Jake is living in Brazil and Colombia and all these places, man, they got mad resources there, man. He still shouldn't be able to come up there and start negotiating like he A-side, man. You got all the resources, but guess what? He still steals. He kills you. He steals your shit. You know, and now he sells it back to you. It makes you work for him.